Welcome to the wonderful adventures of Mrs. SEACOLE in many lands. All right, so we are going to start. In December 1854, Mrs. Mary SEACOLE, a 49-year-old Jamaican woman, shows up at the London War Office and asks to join Florence Nightingale's, you've heard of her, right? Florence Nightingale's ranks in the Scutari Military Hospital, nursing the British soldiers of the I can never say it. Crimean War. Getting it out. All right. So, she's denied. I know. Boo. I didn't write to say boo. I knew you'd know it. But don't worry. The story doesn't end here, folks. Because it turns out Mary SEACOLE is a total badass. You want proof? I'll give you proof. All right. So who is this Mary SEACOLE? And why was she denied service with Florence Nightingale's famous nursing crew? Well, according to Miss Mary SEACOLE's own autobiography, The Wonderful Adventures of Miss Mary SEACOLE in Many Lands, it was very, very, very personal. She said of this event, "The disappointment seemed a cruel one. I was so conscious of the unselfishness of the motives which induced me to leave England, so certain of the service I could render among the sick soldiery, and yet I found it so difficult to convince others to see those facts. Doubts and suspicions arose in my heart. Was it possible that American prejudices against color had some root here? Did these ladies shrink from accepting my aid because my blood flowed beneath a somewhat dusker skin than theirs?" Yeah, that thing. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, she's probably right? Yeah. Okay, so let's back it up. Yeah, maps. Jamaica, 1805. Mary, born Mary Jane Grant, was born in Kingston, Jamaica. Mary was very close to her Creole mother, who was a doctress, using traditional African and Caribbean herbal remedies to treat local community. Mary's mother also ran Grant's boarding house, named after her father's last name, Grant. And it was for officers living in Kingston, because at that time, Jamaica was a British colony, and there were soldiers there. So Mary learned from her mother, as well as doctors staying at the boarding house. And by age 12, she was both helping run the boarding house, but also caring for sick and injured soldiers. So Mary was also close to her father, who was a Scottish soldier, and in Jamaica because of the British colony. And due to Mary's father's position, Mary blamed him for her affection for camp life and her sympathy with the pomp, pride, and circumstance of glorious war. This comes from her book, which, by the way, is very interesting. In fact, it is rumored that Mary even held an unofficial apprenticeship with the military and naval surgeons in Kingston while she resided there. And this shows that she had a real love for soldiers, probably coming from her love for her father. So Mary also blamed her father. Yeah, so many places this person went. So Mary blamed her father for her adventurous spirit. In 1820, at age 15, she traveled to England for the first time with relatives and stayed for about a year. And it was an opportunity for her to learn more modern European medicine. And at 18, she loved it so much she returned on her own for 2 years. And then at 20, on her way back, she traveled to Cuba, Haiti, Bahamas, before she even turned 21. So, like, that was in the 1800s. That's hard for us to do now. Can you even imagine? She had to get on a ship. Yeah, and go all these places. So she came back, and she's working with her mom at the Grant's place. And then 10 years later, at age 31, Mary gets married to this lovely Englishman, Edwin Horatio Hamilton SEACOLE, which is how she got the name SEACOLE. Together, the SEACOLES moved 93 miles away from Kingston to the port of Black River on Jamaica's southwest coast and started up a general store. But really quite quickly, Edwin became unwell, and so Mary became his personal caretaker, nurse. And for the next 8 years, she took care of him. And Edwin's health started to fail, and so did their store. So they were both back in Kingston around 1843. But some really bad things happened. The Grants' boarding house, her mom's place, was consumed by the Great Fire of August 1843. Edwin died in October of 1844, and Mary lost her mom just around the same time. And these losses really, really devastated Mary, and she never remarried. Instead, she focused her energy on traveling and nursing. And this is where all the drama really begins. In 1850, there was a cholera outbreak in Kingston, and Mary found herself nursing victims. Sound familiar? Like outbreaks of things? It's happened in the past. So after that, she traveled to join her brother, who was in Panama, establishing a hotel and a store. And then in June 1852, Panama also suffered a cholera outbreak. And again, Mary found herself nursing victims and even fell ill of the sickness herself. The remedies she used were really common among doctors and sound terrible to now, but they weren't vaccines, it turns out. It was mustard emetics, which make you vomit, warm poultices, mustard plasters on the stomach and back, and mercury chloride. Boo. Boo. But what did they know? They're trying. Give her a break. Other doctors did it. All right. So in 1853, Mary returned to Kingston to care for victims of yellow fever endemic. It's like endless epidemics everywhere. So that year, she was invited by the medical authorities to supervise the nursing services at the British Army's headquarters. She also rebuilt her mother's place and turned it into a functioning hospital. All right. So with those 36 years of experience doctoring all over the place, when the Crimean War broke out, along with another cholera epidemic, Mary felt like she was the person to go help out, right? Makes sense. Plus, she loves soldiers. So, let's talk about this Crimean War. How it all started. Russia invaded Crimea in October of 1853, and then, thank you, Turkey was like, screw that, declaring war. And then the French and the British were like, whoa, those are our trade routes? So they joined the war on Turkey's part. Yeah, right? Also, the Crimean War was the first European war or time that European armies started using technology where they were using long-distance ballistic projectiles, which caused greater casualties. And this is where modern-day battlefield medicine and surgery emerged. Okay, so yes, and take a real look at this one because it's current. So interestingly enough, Crimea is in today's modern-day Ukraine and currently under Russian military control again. History repeats itself. Am I right or am I right? I know, damn it. So Mary, again, certain she could help the British side, she got on a, thank you, and arrived in London to go ask to work with Florence, and again, denied, right? Oh my God. Okay, so here we are. So does Mary take no for an answer? Hell no. No, she don't. So yeah, she gets on another. Yeah, and just funds her own way and goes all the way over to Crimea, all the way across and around. And so the first place she lands is in Scutari, where Florence Nightingale's hospital is. And she realizes that it's like way too far from the battlefield for her. She wants to be up close and personal. So she travels basically where the fighting is and establishes the British Hotel, which is a boarding house, just like her mom did, right, with 2 rooms, a store, a canteen to provide foods and simple cures. Basically, she's doing this thing called social entrepreneuring. Has anyone heard of it? No one had heard of it yet, but Mary did it. So here, let's just take a moment to look at this. Yeah. So here's Florence down here in Scutari. And then up here where the fighting is, that's where Mary is. Huh? Yeah, she likes the action. All right. So Mary's business basically was to provide refreshments to battle spectators. Battle spectators, you ask? Yes. Well, it turns out before there were more war movies, people just went to the war to watch. Yeah. People want drama, guys. Why do you think you're here? So Mary's side hustle was to sell them wine and give them food, sell them food, so that she could then fund her way to go nurse people who were on the battlefield dying or injured. And she was really well known by the war doctors and the soldiers, and she was called Mother SEACOLE. All right, yeah, really sweet, right? Though she got a lot of gruff for this. People were like, you're not a nurse, you're a merchant? Mercantile? Whatever. Who knows what she is? All right, so so this is a picture of Mary next to one of her places where she would sell stuff, and behind her is literally the battlefield. All right. So Mary was, throughout time, has been very negatively compared to Florence. But each of them at that time was noted in newspapers as the mother of the army. So Florence, she gained her reputation because she organized nursing services. And afterwards, she worked tirelessly to improve public health and raise the status of nurses. Meanwhile, Mary's strength was more hands-on with patient care. I think she's the inventor of social entrepreneurship, in my opinion, as far as I can tell. And she was also really experienced with tropical diseases, which these soldiers were falling victim to. And probably what actually sent Mary there. Okay, so I think there should be room for both of them. Don't you think, in history? Can't we celebrate them both? Comparison is the devil or something. I think that's what my therapist tells me. A lot. All right. So, yeah, back. The war ended. Mary went back to Britain and had literally no money. She had spent everything she'd made on those war spectators, on nursing, basically. So she gets back. She has no money. But all these soldiers started writing newspapers praising what she had done. And the Times war correspondent, Sir William H. Russell, sounds very smart, wrote of Mary in 1857, I trust that England will not forget one who nursed her sick, who sought out her wounded and to aid and secure them, and performed the last offices of some of her illustrious dead. And later that year, a fundraising gala was held for her over 4 nights of partying for Mary, on the banks of the River Thames, and over 80,000 people attended. That's right, look at that party. Don't you wish you were there? All right, so people were helping Mary out because she was poor. But then that same year, Mary did publish her autobiography, The Wonderful Adventures of Miss Mary Cole in Many Lands, which became an instant bestseller, and I can tell you why. It's great. She's a great writer. I mean, a great writer. Think about this. A woman from Jamaica in the 1800s, great writer. You wouldn't, yeah, I recommend it. Pick it up. All right. Okay, this, sadly, everyone comes to an end, and so did Mary. She died of a stroke on May 14th, 1881 in London. She was 76 years old and a rich woman at the time of her death. Yeah. That's right. If she can do it, money don't matter. Anyway, she left most of her money to her sister in Jamaica. So, I don't know, grab a glass, right? This is what we do. All right. To those who don't take no for an answer, who don't let prejudices stop them, who are total badasses and social entrepreneurs, and who cares what you say about you, to Miss Mary SEACOLE.